That was Ry Cooder's solo from Across the Borderline. And I think it's the perfect solo for someone who wants to give slide a go. So today I'm going to go through this solo and talk about some of the fundamentals of playing slide, try and give you some tips, and also have a closer look at open D. So let's have a look at the tuning. So to play the solo, we're going to need to retune to open D, which is a favorite for slide. So D, A, D, F sharp, A, and D. Now, one thing to note here is the intervals between the strings, or the relationships between the strings here. We've got three roots, first degree of the scale. We've got three Ds, which is different from standard, right, where you just have the E on top and bottom. As well, we have the fifth degree of the scale, which in D is A. We've got two A's. So we've got two A's and we've got three D's. So 6, 4, 1, there's our roots, and the fifth and the second string, that's the fifth degree. So with that in mind, it becomes a bit easier to start navigating the neck. The string that is a little bit different, if you've spent your life in standard, is the third string, because you've got an F sharp, and that's going to give you a slightly different relationship. It's the third degree basically, and so you have, that spells the chord here if we're D, F sharp, A. So this is your major chord here on the fourth, third and second string. But often when you're noodling on the neck in open D, it's the third string that's going to sort of cause you issues. It'll be half a step sharp or flat from what you're used to. So that's just one consideration, and you do get used to it, I think. Yeah, be wary of the third string in open D and also open E. And one good thing about learning relationships between these strings is that it's completely transferable when you switch to open E, which is another favorite of slide tracks in general. And depending on your the tension on your neck and the strings you're using, open E is another option. And once you learn open D, open E is exactly the same. So open D for this one. Before we start on the solo, we need to just set up our right hand. Now the thing about slide is when we play it, it sets off all the strings. So it's quite important, in fact fundamental I think, to make sure that you isolate the strings that you want to sound. Otherwise everything's going to sound, which sometimes is great, but often it's not exactly what you want if you're actually trying to find a single melody on a single string. So the way you do that is basically up to you, and I think it's quite a personal decision how you mute out or block out the strings with your right hand. The way I've elected to do it is just by sort of resting my thumb on the fourth string, first finger on the third string, my second finger on the second string, and my third finger on the first string. And basically this sort of just sits here, these four, and then you can see, or maybe you can't see, but the sort of the back end of my thumb is resting on the bottom two strings, and just basically resting on the bridge like that. So basically there's no sound. If I play here, all the strings are dampened, and that means that if I play a note here, it's the only one that's going to sound. So this is my sort of default position, and you'll need to find yours. But I mean, I would recommend this as quite a nice, easy thing to get used to. But again, you'll need to sort of just find something that works for you. I mean, if you're playing with a pick, then you can sort of use the heel of your hand to mute things out. And then maybe one of your fingers when you're playing the middle strings can sit or rest on the lower strings. But you will need to just spend a little bit of time finding out what works for you. Okay, so that's the first thing. And the second thing, if you're playing and finding it extremely hard, you might want to just check your action. Now, you'll need sort of, I think, when starting, a kind of a generous action. And one way to give yourself a better distance and a better action is just to simply go up a gauge. If you've got a good setup with 10s, if you put on 11s or 12s, it's going to put a bit of a back bend in the neck, and it's going to give you some clearance just by virtue of the extra tension with those strings. So you might not need to go in and adjust the truss rod. If you've got an old vintage style guitar, it's always a pain doing that anyway. So I find if you've just got if you've got say 10s set up for 10s, if you just put on 11s or 12s, you're going to get the action you need naturally. As well, I mean, these strings are flats. You can, which means my third is wound. I mean, I do love these strings. And you have to fight them a little bit, but they're very smooth, and you don't get that clatter that you get with round wound strings. So that's something else to experiment with. And I think also you do get a little bit of extra tension on the neck with using these flats over round wounds. So that's a couple of other things to think about if you are struggling. You want to get the action up, and you want to get at least 11s. I mean, 10s you're going to be finding it a little bit hard, and it's just not that enjoyable, because you find when you try and play the melodies, you're hitting the you're hitting the frets all the time, and it just sounds a bit too hard. So that's the second thing. And I guess the third thing is get a decent slide. I'm going to do another video on slides soon, but and you want it just resting very gently as you move through the solo. Okay, so that's the setup. Phew. Okay, first note. Your first note here is going to be sliding up to the 5th fret on the 2nd string. Now, when we play slide, we're at the fret end, right? We're not playing in the middle. Otherwise, that's going to be flat. We need to go to the just basically playing over the fret end, and we do this a lot by ear. I mean, one good thing about the open D, we can help ourselves. We can just use the open strings, to help us a little bit with the tuning. But playing along with this track here, I'm going to make the MP3 available, so you can just sort of play along. You can use that to help you with tuning. But basically you're on there, and so gently moving up to the 5th, and then this solo. And by the way, this is playing over the harmony of D. I mean, I'll talk a little about open D as we go through in terms of just trying to find your way on the neck. But the first note, Ry Cooder talks about a good note, finding a good note. So this is your first good note. Now notice here as well, I'm playing that with my 2nd finger, and I am muting the 1st string with my 3rd finger and the other strings with my thumb and 1st finger. So if I wasn't going to do that, then if I was just going to say play with a pick, it would be, you notice that 4 chord coming in there, you can hear the G, but it's actually, we're playing over the root, we're playing over the 1, right? So that's the first note. We then move in bar 2 up to 7, and we're going to slide to 9. So we keep the same right hand. I'm going from 7 to 9. So again, 5, up to 7, and the vibrato when we play slide is just a very gentle left to right movement. We don't need to go crazy on it. I think it's probably more important to just try and get the intonation right first, and just try and use your ear and line it up with the sight as well, the edge of the fret. Just try and nail the intonation, and then we can add just a bit of a light vibrato. We don't need to go crazy with that. Then at the end of bar 3, we're going from 7 to 9, sliding up to 9, back to 5, 2 times, and then we're going to 4, and then we're going to the 2nd fret, so that's a 4, and then we're going to just play the simple open string, which of course is A, because we've retuned the thing. Yeah. So again from the start, sliding up to 5. And that takes us through to, where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bar 5. Okay, bar 5. From there, we're switching strings. So to do so, in my system, your system may be a little bit different, but I'm just going to gently rest that finger that I was playing with, my 2nd finger, and then use this one here. This is why I think it's quite nice to have these notes anchored, because then when we sort of practice this, which is something you do actually need to practice, it doesn't come naturally, that sort of dexterity of these fingers. But it does get easier, and then we're going to be playing the 1st string and going open, 2, 1, 2. So this is the major pentatonic scale here. I just had to look at the tab here. 0, 2, 4, 9. So this is literally the major pentatonic scale. We have 1, 2nd degree, 3rd degree, 5th degree, and 6th degree. Yeah, yeah. And then we're going back to 7. So this is all on the same string. All we're playing with our 3rd finger here. 0, 2, 4, 9, 7. And then we're changing strings, so I'm going to need to change my right hand finger again. And then back to 7. A little bit of light left to right movement there, vibrato, which you can't even hear because the note's not sounding. So again from there. Seven to 9. So from there, we're going to be playing 2 notes. It's a little bit hard to hear on the record actually, but I think for our purposes this sounds good. We're playing 2 notes, 1st and 2nd string. My 3rd finger is now resting on the 1st string. So here, basically it's an A7 sound. And then, now if I don't put my 3rd finger there, it's going to sound like, you've got the 5th there, but in fact, both are fine, to be honest. Both sound good. And then we're going to be, this is all over the chord of A, because we have, I mean, maybe I can just interlude this with the system of open A. Our key chord areas are D, the 1st chord, of course. The 4 chord, which is a G, just blocking out completely the 5th fret, and then there's our A on the 7th fret. So, and to get a minor, because there's actually a B minor as well, for our purposes here, we need to play behind the slide. You see that there? Because we're going to flatten the 3rd, because this is a major 3rd, but we want the F sharp, we want the F natural. So that's why, yeah, we need to play behind the slide to get the B minor. But don't worry too much about that. But that's basically, we're just sort of orientating with open D. So we got 1, 4, 5, 6 minor, and the 2 minor is going to be down here on the 2nd fret. So that's sort of the main key areas: 1, 4, 5, 6, 1. And so we can come back in now to the tab. We are at bar, what bar is that? That's bar 8. So we're in here. And so we've just played, and then we're going to play this sort of this beautiful sort of harp-like chord here, and then we don't have to worry about muting too much here because these notes are ringing out. And then we go back to our 7 to 9 on the second string, and we're going back to the D chord there in the harmony. And then from there we're going from 9, we're sliding up to 12, and the harmony has changed to the 5 chord. We're playing over there here. We could play it there if we chose, but in fact it's a slide, so but it's the same note, so it's part of the 5 chord, which is the 7th fret, right? So we're going to D. So we're over here, so sliding up and then to D. It's just a beautiful note, this one. It really is. I mean, this solo is one of my favorites. It's just a masterclass in sort of spacious, beautiful melodic writing. We come up here. You don't need to block out that, really. I think that sounds equally good. And then we're coming back to 11. 11 to 12, then so it's 11, 12, 11, 9, 7, up to 9. So from there, end of bar 10. Just a little bit of fast movement there. It might help to anchor your thumb here behind to get this, to get that. And then we're going to 11 and 12 again, from 9. No need to mute there because we're on the D chord. That's as the 5 and the 3rd, there's your F sharp again. Back to 10, and then we're playing to, where are we here? 10, 12, 10. We can either play that 8, but actually let's go for, just to keep it easy. And then, and that is it. So guys, it's a short solo, but I really do think it's a nice one to start to understand, 1, slide, and 2, open D, because basically it sort of just, it moves between and then it's all between the sort of the key areas, and basically as you do that, 1, you're learning sort of where those notes are, right? It's quite a nice song and melody to be able to sort of navigate and just sort of look and work with open D, and it's such a beautiful solo as well. So I'll leave you guys to work on this, and we'll see you on the next one. All the best.